And we're back. It's Monday evening, and we're on this indoor football experience. I'm the coach, and we have RJ on with us, and he's the kid. So, how's it going, RJ? Welcome back, man. Good. Looking forward to doing another show with you this week.
Thank you. I've been looking forward to doing the show as well. It's been a good week for indoor football, game-wise. Had a lot of fun.
Yeah, most definitely. I know that we've got a number of news items at the top of the show that we need to address, and I know that you brought one to my attention here just recently.
Yeah, this one is one that you never want to report, but I do feel as an indoor football enthusiast and aficionado that I do have to inform those who do not know that Clayton Banner, the director of player personnel for the Carolina Cobras, passed away recently. We Arena Football Talk and the Alternative Football News Network send our condolences to his family, those who he touched. I never got to meet him personally, but I've heard great things about him, and he was amazing at his job.
Yeah, definitely. So, very sad situation for the indoor football community. Prayers up to him and his family, and hopefully, the good Lord will provide the comfort that they need in the grieving and moving forward process.
Yeah, you know, it's never how you want to open a show, but it had to be addressed. However, the good news is it's the only downside of the show tonight.
Yeah, most definitely. We got a great show lined up for you. We're looking forward to again taking our trip around the indoor football scene. We'll talk a little IFL. We'll talk a little National Arena League. We'll talk a little CIF, and we had some things, some developments in some of the other leagues that we might be able to touch on a little bit as well before the show ends tonight. Again, in case you're just joining us, you're listening to the indoor football experience. I'm the coach. That's the kid. We'll be taking a walk around the horn here in a little bit, but right now we want to go right to our Alternative Football News Network guest line, and we want to welcome in Daryl Stoneham, wide receiver from the Duke City Gladiators. Daryl, how you doing? Welcome to the show, man.
Good, guys. How you doing? Thanks for having me.
Hey, doing real good, man. Appreciate you making time. I know that you guys had a big win this past weekend. You're getting ready for the playoffs. So talk a little bit about the win and where things are going for the Gladiators, man.
Oh, man, it's going pretty good for us so far. We just secured home field advantage throughout the playoffs with this past victory against Amarillo. So, it was a tough game on our rivals. So uh, we was happy to come out with the win yesterday and keep that home field advantage and, just keep this momentum going throughout the rest of the season.
Definitely, you guys. In case I didn't mention, Duke City Gladiators are the defending Champions Indoor Football League champions from 2018. So they'll be starting a playoff run here, hosting at home, looking to defend that title. What was it like to win that title last year, Daryl?
Well, I wasn't here for it last year, but we had the ring ceremony at halftime of the Amarillo game this past Saturday. So, just to see them drop the banner in the stadium and all the guys get presented their rings, and it was a sight to see. So, we just trying to chase one this year. So the guys this year can get one.
Yeah, now it's kind of what I was referring to, the ring ceremony. And, the guys have really worked hard down there, got a great setup for indoor football players down there. You've had an opportunity to play at the highest level. Talk a little bit about your time with the Kansas City Chiefs and how you transitioned to indoor football.
And it's great, man. I enjoy it. And I want to thank the Chiefs for giving me an opportunity. I was there from 2013 to 15, so those 2 years, being able to learn under Coach Reed and offense coordinator Doug Peterson, I had a great receivers coach and Coach Cully, and just learning from some of the vets like Dwayne Bowe and Donnie Avery. It was a great learning experience, and being able to accomplish your dreams and playing at the highest level is that was a dream come true. So I cherish every moment I had with the Chiefs, and I try to take a lot of things that I learned there to the indoor game where I'm at now. So, but it's a lot different. So I have to take bits and pieces. So it's a whole different ball game. But I'm learning, and it's a lot of fun.
Good deal. In case you're just joining us, we have DC Stoneham, wide receiver from the Duke City Gladiators, on with us, kind enough to join us tonight on the Indoor Football Experience. And I'm the coach, and the kid's with us. He'll be jumping in here in just a little bit. You also had a chance to play on the biggest stage in college as well, as a Michigan alum. Talk little bit about the Big Ten and how the Big Ten prepared you for professional football.
Yeah, man, that was great, and that's uh, very very good memory of mine. I love playing. I love that school. University of Michigan will always have a special place in my heart, man. I bleed blue, so playing at Michigan, a big university, Big Ten, in the big house, 110,000 fans every game, no matter what, no matter what the weather was. It was 110,000 plus every game. So it was a great experience. I enjoyed every minute of it, and I think it prepared me for the next level and any level really. I think you can call me a little biased, but that's the most NFL ready conference in college. I think the Big 12. So I think it prepared me for all levels.
Well, you should be a little bit biased. I mean, you had great success while you were playing in the Big Ten, number one. Number two, it provided you with an opportunity to pursue your ultimate dream, I'm sure, was to play in the professional ranks. So, competing in the Big Ten, man, is not something that everybody gets to do. So it's good that you're thankful and appreciative for your time there.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. Able to set a couple records before I left, and have a bunch of great connections with the Harbaughs and Coach Hoke and Rich Rod and Desmond Howard, Braylon Edwards, Jason Avant. Coach Reed loves Michigan receivers, and he couldn't get Jason Avant out of his mouth enough. So that was one of his favorite receivers he coached when he was at Philadelphia, and all the places he coached. He tried to bring Jason with him. So
I know at your age, 28, 29, what's in front of you? Not that you want to move past this playoff run and championship run that you hope to make with the Gladiators, but what does DC want to do with his football career, especially with the opportunities that are going to be out there with the XFL? It might not be getting back to the NFL, but do you hope to get an opportunity in the XFL or something of that nature?
yeah, I feel like I got a bunch of good years ahead of me football wise. My body feels great. I got a lot of knowledge. I got a lot of, a lot that I can bring to the game still. So hopefully the XFL, I can get a chance there. But I did get my degree in broadcast journalism at the University of Michigan in communications. So if not, I'll just play as long as my body lets me to play wherever I can play. And when it's time to go, I'll trade in the cleats for a microphone.
Sounds good. That's what a lot of guys do. Obviously, a lot of guys don't get to play at the highest level like yourself, but a football player is a football player is a football player, and anything that you can do to stay close to the game. I've officiated, I worked for arena teams, and worked in broadcasting. So you'll have yourself well set up to move forward when your playing career is done. I know RJ had a couple questions for you. I'm going to let him jump in, and then if my man's around, we'll get both of you guys on the same time. I got a couple questions for both of you. RJ, go ahead.
Well, thank you for coming on, first of all. My first question for you is, when you move cities, not just from the indoor leagues, but from outdoor to indoor, any team to any team, what's it like for you to adjust to the different climate?
That's where I believe Michigan came into play. Being from Texas, I had offers from the University of Texas. I had offers from Miami, USC, so all the warm states. But I chose Michigan, number one, the education, the tradition of the program, everything. But also a big factor why I chose Michigan was it was going to prepare me for all different types of weather, including like the freezing cold. So I wanted to be prepared as I wanted to play football at the next level, to be prepared for all different types of weather climates. So I believe Michigan prepared me for that. So when I went to Kansas City and we played in those cold games, I was used to it. I played in Green Bay. Kansas City's cold. I played in Wisconsin. So I'm comfortable playing in cold weather games outdoors, warm weather games, rain, sleet, snow. It doesn't matter because I've had experience in playing in all of them. So
I want to reiterate something you said for all the young athletes out there. One of the reasons you went to Michigan was for the education. Not everybody can make it to the NFL. Not because not because people don't have talent, but because the number is so small. Education is very important. I just want to thank you for emphasizing that on this show because it's important. And I think people sometimes get deluded by their visions of fulfilling these crazy prophecies they have.
yeah.
Um, you know, Another thing I want to ask you is how did Duke City get impacted by Texas folding mid-season this year?
I'm sorry. Ask that one more time for me.
Sure thing. So how how much was Duke City affected by the Revolution folding mid-season?
It sounded like the microphone was rattling. You said how much was Duke City impacted by what now?
He was asking if Duke City was impacted at all by the fold by the Texas Revolution folding.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no. It was. I think it was a positive impact. We got one. We got their quarterback, Robert Kent. He's the quarterback for the for the Revolution, and he's come in for us these last. These last two games against the Savages and then also against Amarillo, and he's played lights out. To have a savvy veteran like that as at the helm of your offense, and he's seen all defenses, he's seen all coverages, and he knows exactly where the ball is supposed to go before the ball is snapped. So to have that type of quarterback on your team is a bonus.
Yeah, I mean, your point was silver linings of an unfortunate situation. It's always good to find a silver lining. So, I'm really enjoying your positivity here because it's very easy to talk down about these situations that you've been put in. Now, another question I have is, what is the hardest environment to play in that you've been in for the indoor game? Because I don't think it's fair comparing to a 110,000 seat venue to a 6,000 seat venue.
Yeah. I would say that the toughest one, Amarillo had a pretty strong crowd. I believe our home fans, our crowd is. I believe we've had the most since I've played in arena. Since I played indoor this year, I haven't seen any more people in the stadium than our fans. So shout out to our fans for being great loyal fans. But I would say Amarillo had a pretty good showing as well. So it was a pretty tough environment on the road.
I love it when communities really do invest in these teams emotionally because football is a year-round sport. That you want to be with. So having that opportunity and then saying, all right, I'm gonna embrace this with my team. Maybe they're not NFL, but you know what? Football's football, and we're gonna have a good time watching it. And I'm gonna support the players and support their dreams.
Yeah.
Coach, you got any more questions?
Oh yeah, absolutely. One thing I wanted to talk to you about, DC, is you're regarded as a big receiver at 6'2", 210 pounds. Great for the outdoor game, obviously. Was your size? How did your size really work in the indoor game where you do see some smaller receivers?
I believe my size works great in the indoor and outdoor, but in indoor, it's such a small field and everything is so quick and so fast that the high point ball is a very often used ball around here. Everything is size matters. I mean, size helps.
Uh-huh.
So those high balls, those jump balls in the end zone, those balls we can put your body in front of the defender to kind of shield them off. It's pretty popular here. Outdoor, you have a lot more space, so you have a lot more space to go out and run down and chase down the ball, and speed is used a lot more because it's 100 yards. And indoor, it's 50 yards, and it's right now. Get the ball right now. So the best way to get the ball right now is to put the ball where the defender can't get it. And typically, being 6'2", that tends to go in my favor.
No doubt. One thing that our fans can take a look at, you mentioned high pointing the ball. If you go to my page, I got a great picture of you high pointing the ball in the end zone, and that's where you talk about that size matters. I know you've had an opportunity to play with Dello Davis over the last couple years, and he's is the CIF MVP, reigning MVP. And
Yeah.
also, as the Duke City Gladiators are the defending CIF champions. So is Dello around?
Hello. Yeah, let me see if I can grab him for a minute.
Sounds good. In case you're just listening you're listening to the Indoor
Peace.
Football Experience. I'm the coach. I'm with the kid. We got a couple of Facebook Lives going, and you can also jump in and listen live at afnn.net. So you can log on there and you can listen live and join in and join the show. We have DC Stoneham, wide receiver, with us from the Duke City Gladiators, kind enough to join us tonight. And he's trying to round up fellow St. Louisan like myself, Dello Davis. Dello, you there?
Yeah, what's up? What's up? How you doing?
Good. How you doing, man? It's good to talk to you.
It's nice talking to you too. How you doing, Mr. Hart?
I'm doing excellent, man. We got off talking about how our relationship really ever started. You're a local guy, and it gets down to sometimes front office guys got to be honest with the players, and sometimes that doesn't happen. And with me and you, that happened, and I think that's been something that's really been able to build our relationship, man.
Yeah, yes, sir. That's right. And I really do appreciate you for that. I tell you that every time we talk.
Most definitely. So finally got down and got the recognition that you really deserve as one of the best wide receivers in all of arena and indoor football. Talk about your return to the CIF full time last year after a little cup of coffee in the IFL and just went back and dominated and do what you do. Talk about your preparation last year and how it carried over into this season as you guys getting ready to make another run for the championship.
Oh yeah. Like I say, just taking the lessons I learned from, the adventures I took the year before then, like to the IFL and the NAL, just bringing it back to the CIF, that definitely helped out a lot. But, just my return of last year, coming back a squad I was familiar with already because I played with them once before. So, just coming back in, feeling the home feel and, just, getting on that field, working with some veteran guys, and, putting everything together, kind of, knew what I was doing a little bit, with some of the knowledge that I do have, so got to gained a lot of knowledge from last year to bring it over into this season. I got a couple newer guys. They're not rookies, but this is their first year in the indoor game. So, just trying to, show those guys and just tell those guys what's going on. And DC become one of the greats too, right on the side of me, helped me out a ton. He caught on to this game really fast. And it was a good thing that I, know how to teach it and give it off for the guys to learn it, to perceive it, and he does a great job with it, as you can see.
Well, obviously, and you definitely need you need players to complement each other, and it seems like with your speed and quickness and the things that you bring to the table is a great complement to a wide receiver like DC. Like we mentioned just before you came on. A bigger, more physical wide receiver.
Yep, and that's exactly what's happening right now. Yes, sir.
And the interesting thing is he has return skills just like yourself. So do you ever let him get in on the return game at all, man?
Uh, you heard me say that's all me, man. I invite the guys out, man. If y'all feel like y'all can return, go on and jump back there. But if y'all want me to handle it, I'll handle it. They got, in this game, you got the squib kick and the middle dribble, and it just ain't a straight kickoff. So they kind of like me to handle all the chaos when it comes to that type of kicking styles.
Well, good enough. Well, guys, man, I know you guys are busy tonight. I know that you were in film and getting your equipment from the stadium and everything. First and foremost, Dello, I want to thank DC and Zach from Athlete Scouting for making him available. Also, want to thank him for taking a couple seconds out of his interview to throw you on so I can say hello. And from the Indoor Football Experience to coaching the kid, we wish the Duke City Gladiators all the best moving forward as you guys make a playoff run.
Man, we thank you, Mr. Harden. Thank you for having me on, and DC right here. I'm gonna let him tell you.
Okay, good
We
enough,
both,
Dello. I'll
yeah,
talk at you.
yeah, we both appreciate you having us on, man. Thank you.
Yes, sir. And there you have it, DC Stoneham and Dello Davis, wide receiver from the Duke City Gladiators. Thanks for joining us, guys. Don't be strangers. RJ, so a couple of good guys, and it's funny. I don't want to call Dello small, but he's smaller than he's smaller than DC, and it's interesting how they complement each other out there.
It really is. It's fun to see that happen because at this level, it's hard to find two
Somebody
like
got every
top
shit.
tier receivers,
I just put this together.
and these guys fulfill that role perfectly.
Definitely. So, in case you're just joining us, you're listening in to the Indoor Football Experience. I'm the coach, and that's the kid, and you can listen live at afnn.net. We just got done talking with a couple great wide receivers from the Duke City Gladiators, so appreciate them making the time for us. And I mean, RJ, a bunch of great guests lined up. Coming into the summer, so looking forward to talking to more great guests from all the leagues as we move forward in the summer. It's an exciting time right now with the end of the season and playoffs coming.
Absolutely, and playoffs are a great time because some leagues are in the playoffs. Some teams are, some leagues have the playoff push going on. So no matter who's playing, there's a lot of drama. And if you like sports, you're gonna like drama.
No doubt you have to really like drama. We had a chance to talk a little bit off air about the IFL announcing its 2019 Hall of Fame finalist, and let's just talk about that little list a little bit. We can go down a rundown of the scores, but I think this is important. And I talked about, it can be difficult to come up with a good list of candidates when your league's only been in existence for 10 years or a little over 10 years, but the IFL is working hard and they've put together another decent list of finalists.
Yeah, so I'll read each name off and then we'll go into detail about each guy. And in advance, I apologize if I say a name incorrectly. But we got Michael Bazemore. He played for the Billings Outlaws and Sioux Falls Storm. Roque Belmonte, the former Cedar Rapids Titan and Wichita Falls Nighthawks. Willie Copeland, a defensive back who played for the Arkansas Diamond, Green Bay Blizzard, Cedar Rapids Titans, and Colorado Ice/Crush. You also got yourself Jacaves Jones with the Revolution and Barnstormers, Kyle Kaiser with the Colorado Crush/Ice, and Houston Lillard, the Tri-Cities Fever quarterback from a while back. Brian Prey, who played for about every team under the sun, West Michigan Thunderhawks, Lacrosse Spartans, Green Bay Blizzard, Cedar Rapids Titans, Spokane Empire, and Iowa Barnstormers. Melina Smith, Billings Outlaw and Sioux Falls Storm member. Stephen Whitehead, a receiver from the Tri-Cities Fever. And Dixie Wooten, the quarterback for your River City Rage and Wichita Wild and Nebraska Danger.
Yeah, definitely. And there's a typo on the IFL page. Willie Copeland's a quarterback for the Arkansas Diamonds, Green Bay Blizzard, Chicago Titans. Cedar Rapids Titans and Colorado Ice and Crush. A couple of these guys I've been on the field with. I was on the field with Willie Copeland his rookie year with the Diamonds. They rotated in a lot of quarterbacks and everything that year. He was able to take them from about the middle of the season down the stretch in 2010 where they were runner-up in the IFL. So that team was only in existence 1 year before they moved to Texas. And Willie Copeland's a viable candidate in my opinion, somebody that I've been on the field with. You mentioned Brian Prey, no brainer there. Brian, the numbers stand out for themselves. 407 passes for over 5,000 yards and 120 touchdowns in the indoor game. So, he's definitely worthy in my opinion. And Dixie Wooten, we had great quarterbacking here for the River City Rage, but to be honest with you, Dixie made his mark with the Wichita Wild, be a fine candidate as well. A lot of the other guys I'm familiar with, but I haven't been on the field and seen, so no disrespect to them. I wish them all good luck, but those are a couple of guys that I've been on the field with, and I've seen exactly what they bring to the table in game, and I'd be fine with any of them as selections.
Yeah, it's really cool for, me who started following the IFL pretty recently to see all the history. I mean, I've done, some work off the air looking at the history. I didn't realize how big the IFL was when it was at its peak with like 25 teams in the 2010, 2011 years, And to see all these players getting nominated for a Hall of Fame,
Yeah, it was very.
the indoor football leagues deserve all the praise in the world because they're the top of their industry, and having a Hall of Fame for them is great.
Yeah, definitely. And like I said, the IFL has to work hard in regard to putting out a quality list of Hall of Famers, and this is a quality list, like I said, with several worthy candidates. So kudos to them. And the one thing that I like, in order to have a Hall of Fame list, you have to be coming back year in and year out. So these guys are doing a good job of. Continuing to keep their product viable and continue to be one of the top, if not the top, indoor league in the industry.
Definitely, I really do love the indoor football league. And I'd love to see happen, and this is a pipe dream considering how these leagues kind of have egos, and personalities. Is one day for them altogether to create a massive Hall of Fame because I think it would help get some mainstream attention.
Yeah, it gets down to it's the same thing though. RJ is the same thing as the leagues all combining and coming together, and forming a big super league, so to speak. In this industry, it's hard to get people to work together. So
Yeah,
again,
definitely,
that's where your problems are presented.
definitely. I don't even need all these leagues to merge. I just, I like to form a conglomerate to highlight their best players.
Yeah, and that would be good. The IFL, they have confidence that they're going to return year in and year out now, and that's why they're able to do that. Some of the other cities, they just aren't as able to do that. So I'm going to do a quick rundown of our IFL scores real quick from last week. Uh, IFL and IFL action. Green Bay traveled to the Bismarck Bucks and they defeated the Bismarck Bucks 40-10. Arizona Rattlers actually pitched a shutout, which is extremely rare in the arena and indoor game. Arizona Rattlers traveled to Cedar Rapids and defeated the River Kings 56-0. So we talked a little bit about the just downfall of the River Kings, and hopefully they can finish this season and get things turned around in the offseason and get competitive again. San Diego Strike Force traveled to Sioux Falls Storm, and they run into a buzzsaw there. Really, they're one of their worst performances in several weeks. They've been playing really well. They fall to the Storm on the road, 60-7. So there's your scoreboard and IFL action. Over last week, we're going to take a quick look at the standings in the IFL as well. I'm the coach. The kid's with us. He'll be back in just a little bit. We're running down the standings in the IFL. In case you just joined us, you missed our great guest, Dello Davis from the DC Gladiators and DC Stoneham wide receiver from the Duke City Gladiators as well. I know that they're both watching on the Facebook Live, so appreciate both of you guys checking in with us. RJ's back now, and RJ, we went through the IFL scores. We're just taking a quick look at the IFL standings, and not a lot of change with Arizona still at the top at 12-0. Iowa Barnstormers check in with an 11-1 record, and the Sioux Falls Storm, they come in at 10-2, and then things kind of fall off with that middle tier. Green Bay, the fourth team, holding on to a playoff spot at 7-5, and unfortunately, San Diego's been pretty competitive throughout the year, even at 1-11. They're kind of hit a wall here, and the Cedar Rapids River Kings are just struggling. They're not really able to put anything together. They're just having trouble scoring points and giving up too many. So should be fun at the top with Arizona, Iowa, Sioux Falls, and Green Bay looking to battle it out.
Definitely, Green Bay cannot get too comfortable because Tucson is right on their tail. So, don't get too comfortable, guys. Never get comfortable in these leagues. Things can change in an instant.
Yeah, you can, and especially with the IFL schedule, man, it's like a gauntlet. You have to be playing well, and we've talked a lot about the danger and the struggles that they've had this year. Taking a quick look at the schedule in the IFL moving forward before we jump to another league here. On Thursday, a rare Thursday night game in the IFL, the Nebraska Danger will travel to San Diego and take on the Strike Force. And Danger need a win desperately. Don't know if they can hold on to any potential playoff hope, and be great to see the Strike Force put up another win here before the season concludes. The Bismarck Bucks will travel to Quad Cities and take on the Steam Wheelers. That ought to really be a good game, we hope, on Friday. Then on Saturday, a host of games where everybody's in action. The Sugar Skulls will travel to Arizona and take on the Rattlers. Green Bay will travel to Cedar Rapids, play the River Kings, and the last game of the weekend on Saturday, Sioux Falls Storm travel to Iowa and play the Barnstormers, and that's going to be my IFL game of the week. I'm going to go with the Barnstormers at home. Who would you like in that one, RJ?
I gotta go Barnstormers. It's hard for me to pick against Barnstormers teams in general, but especially when they're at home. They have an amazing crowd that comes out every week. The only thing about the Barnstormers that can get annoying is the cowbells. And I get that you love it there, guys, but seriously, when I watch it on YouTube, I hear it and I'm thinking, can the commentator please speak up?
I need more cowbell. Yeah, I hear you, man. We have a cowbell issue here in the Midwest. It is what it is. So, you know what, man? Don't ever let them see you sweat if it's something that drives you crazy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I find it more amusing than anything, honestly. It's great. I just can't imagine being at the arena.
Yeah, so again, moving on from the IFL, let's talk a little bit about the National Arena League, and why don't you get us caught up on what's going on in the National Arena League? We'll talk it over a little bit.
All right, so the New York Streets went to Massachusetts to take on the Pirates, and they fell hard in a blowout loss. And in the Streets, and they've been doing well. They're doing well at the beginning of the year, but ever since the Pirates brought in Dexter McCluster, former NFL Pro Bowler, they've been killing it. And,
Yeah, it's
making life a lot easier for Sean Brackett.
Yeah, it's interesting how that signing was very timely for them. And he's jumped right in and helped them, and they're going to be able to have a strong finish down the stretch.
Yeah, and then you had the Carolina Cobras taking on the Columbus Lions. The Lions almost handed the Cobras their first loss of the year, falling 52-3.
So another good game there. Again, we've talked about how we like the good competitive games. They're great for the fans. They're great for the fan base. They're great for all the people that love this industry and love the indoor games. So another good competitive game.
Absolutely. I gotta say that NAL's really been stepping it up recently with the quality of teams. After that first year, they kind of shrunk down a bit, and they've really been focusing on quality over quantity, and I really appreciate that.
Uh-huh. And did we talk about the Jacksonville Sharks at the Orlando Predators yet? Hey, you there, RJ?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah. So, like, last week we were on the show talking about the Predators and um, the Predators and the Jacksonville rivalry. And, as we were on the show, they start posting some trash talk. And I gotta say again, this is a rivalry that's really helping the National Arena League. Because a rivalry makes things a lot more for fans.
Yeah, no question about it. And again, Florida seems to kind of be bouncing back with the rumors that the Tampa Bay Storm might be back, and we'll see what type of a fit they are with whichever league direction they go. All signs point that they'll be heading to the National Arena League, and then you would have the reuniting of the Jacksonville Sharks, Orlando Predators, and the Tampa Bay Storm.
Yeah, and I asked one of the NAL owners on Facebook, if you could put a team anywhere, where would it be? And they said Lakeland. With the Tarpons just folding, the Lakeland Civic Center is open. And putting another team in Florida would be great because I would be putting. They have a good history of teams being successful. It's just ability that is kind of hard sometimes.
Yeah, you know, Florida at one time had a lot of teams in a lot of different leagues, and a lot of the leagues have come back to the pack. But you're talking about an area that has had successful teams before, and you always wonder what's going on, why they didn't have success recently. Sometimes that scares people away from going into those markets. So anybody who goes in that market will have all their ducks in a row and have their money in a row as well, because that's the only way. That'll be the only way to do it,
Coach?
or it'll just be another one of those burned markets.
Yeah, definitely. And I do love seeing markets that have had teams in the past get a second chance because the first one went away for a reason that was beyond their control.
Yeah, and that happens. So we will see what goes on with things here moving forward. Florida will be heavily dominant in the National Arena League if Lackland should get a team, or as we mentioned just a little bit ago, looks like all signs are pointed towards the National Arena League taking on the Tampa Bay Storm for the 2020 season. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
It's always
and
a
the
lot of
storm.
transition.
Yeah, and the storm thing is gonna be interesting because how the Tampa market does.
Yeah, definitely. When these arena teams are lucky that they've been able to experience a reincarnation of sorts. And that only happens when you come back to a league that's not as expensive as the one that you're in. So now that the National Arena League has been around for 3, 4 seasons, they've had a chance to establish a foundation, and a lot of those Florida teams apparently have gotten comfortable with that. With Orlando coming on board, and now Tampa Bay talking about coming back as well.
Definitely, you'll love to see teams coming back. There's an active trademark for the Nashville Cats. And I hope to see them join the NAL.
Yeah, for sure. So a lot of action in those two leagues, but we're going to move on. We're going to talk a little bit about the CIF, and we opened the show talking a little CIF with DC Stoneham and Dello Davis were both kind enough to join us from the Duke City Gladiators, and they, as you heard, they'll be in the playoffs and hosting with home field advantage throughout the playoffs. So a good way to try and defend a title, RJ.
Definitely, it's the best way to try to defend a title. If you look around the league, the Sioux City Bandits defeated the Wichita Force 49-27. We said week in and week out, Coach. The Force a bit underwhelming this year, I'd say.
Uh-huh.
At the least, Amarillo, like we stated earlier, they did fall to Duke City, losing 60-43, and then Salina beat the Beef 54-34, and that was the game I had the hardest time picking for my pick'em league.
Yeah, Salina's coming on strong. You mentioned the Wichita Force. Want to say what's up to Marvin Fisher, who I see is checked in on our Facebook Live. So what's up, Marvin? Long time no talk. Good luck to you and the Force down the stretch. RJ, you mentioned Salina and the Beef. One thing, with a great coach, great things can happen, and that's what you're seeing. The coach there is developing the team and the roster, and they're playing good football at the right time.
I'm just saying.
So, Heron O'Neill, veteran indoor football coach, and he has a lot of veteran players on that roster mixed with some new local talent. And I think that they're really playing some good football, and I think that they are going to be somebody to be reckoned with down the stretch. I also think that Sioux City Bandits have the ability to play a good football game at times. So with Salina Sioux City and the Amarillo Venom and the Duke City Gladiators. Should be a fun time down the stretch in the CIF.
Definitely, CIF is another great league that if you haven't looked into yet, look into it. There are a lot of great leagues out there, and it's fun to look at them all, see all the little quirks.
Yeah, the Omaha Beef really got off on a good run, and they currently are still at the top of that Northern Division with a 7-2 record. But like we've talked about, Salina has played good ball consistently for the last few weeks. Sioux City's turned in some good performances. They turned in a dud here and there. That's why they're 5-4. And like I said, Wichita has just been struggling at 2-8. And I really thought better for them coming out of training camp. It's just been a struggle this year, and some years are like that. Over in the Southern Division, you really don't have much going on other than Amarillo is trying or was trying to catch Duke City, which they'll be unable to do now. Particularly, it came down to what went down in the last 2 or 3 weeks with Duke City on a 3-game winning streak, and Amarillo, after they had a big win, dropped the next 2, and that cost them home field advantage throughout the playoffs.
Yeah, it really stinks to see that because, when you have something in grasp, you just got to close your hands, and it has to be agonizing for the fans, it has to be agonizing for the players, but you know what? Adversity creates character, so I'm not counting the venom out at all.
Yeah, so they'll still be able to have a good round of playoffs here. Still some quality teams to represent the CIF, and I guess right now that all odds would point towards the Duke City Gladiators, maybe going back to back until we see somebody that's can compete with them. In the playoffs, but like I said, they are playing probably the best ball in the CIF right now on a 3-game winning streak, and I think they're looking to stay hot and play good at the right time. All the other teams that we're kind of talking about that have a chance to really get in there and do something. Omaha, like we mentioned, they lost this week, and Salina's making a push to maybe possibly take over that top spot at 6-3, and the Beef just at 7-2. So both teams offensively relatively strong. The one thing, the Beef are a little stronger defensively, and that might be something that hurts the Liberty down the stretch. It's going to come down to defense, and Omaha just has a little bit better defense.
Offense wins games, defense wins championships.
No doubt about it. And if you look at the standings and the statistics in the CIF, you'll see that your best defensive team, at least according to the statistics, is the Duke City Gladiators, and followed very closely by the Omaha Beef. So ought to be interesting coming down the stretch for both of those teams. See who's gonna play defense and score enough points to win ball games.
Definitely, by all means.
So, we were talking a little bit off air about some of the other leagues out there, and I really can't talk too much on the situation that's going on now that I made you privy to. But, a couple of the other leagues, such as the American Arena League and the Elite Indoor Football League are still putting on games, and it seems like, as we've talked about before, those top teams are doing well. The middle to bottom tier teams are kind of falling off, but that's where it is in those leagues. So have you had a chance to stay on top of what's going on in the American Arena League?
Yeah, I have. The American Arena League is entering the playoffs. They have a 4-division format, so there are going to be 8 teams, which, in my opinion, is a few too many considering how many teams they have in the league, but, that is just me. So, you got your dominant teams like the West Michigan Ironman, the West Virginia Rough Riders. Those are the 2 top teams, and they can't play each other in the championship game, which is unfortunate because I would love to see that. So listen, AAL, if you want to do a charity game, that's the charity game I would love to watch. Um, just an FYI to you guys. Um, the league's entering the playoffs. It's the league's 2nd season now, and I'm excited for the playoffs because despite how heavily a team may be favored, it's always going to be a contest.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, the kind of cream rises to the crop. Looking at a lot of the scores in the American Arena League, it's almost like the teams that should win are winning, and that's probably what it's going to come down to in the playoffs. You're going to be looking at some combination of probably the West Virginia Rough Riders, the Ironmen, and probably somebody else in there that can.
Yeah, the havoc or the energy I see going to the finals for the other conferences.
Right. So, I mean, on paper, both of those teams will struggle to compete against West Virginia and Western Michigan.
Absolutely, but I'm never going to count anybody out in this league or any league. I've seen crazier things happen, and the thing I want the AAL to do next year is reorganize their divisions because some divisions got very few people in them right now. You have divisions with 3 teams in them. You have divisions with 2 teams in them in the Midwest division. So by default, both teams made it to the playoffs. So I would just do a North and South division next year, barring any expansion, of course. That would throw a wrench in things, but just looking at it right now, the AAL's been through a tough year. Partially because Jack Bowman passed away. You know, man, I didn't want to get too morbid today, but
Hmm.
it's part of it. The unfortunate truth of this industry is that you know people live and people die. It's part of the world. But I'm not going to dwell on that too much. In the end, the AAL. Another thing I like the AAL to do, if they can, again, this is me from an outside perspective. Cut the travel only teams. In my opinion, and coach, you can say your take. They look kind of unprofessional to a degree.
Well, obviously, and that's what they are, and that's what leagues are always trying to do. Just a couple quick shout outs. We got some people watching on the live feed. And in case you're just joining us, I'm the coach, and that's RJ you're listening to. We got a great show rocking tonight, having a lot of fun. You're listening to the Indoor Football Experience. If you want to listen live, you can. We definitely encourage you to tune in at afnn.net. Bobby, sounds cool. I look forward to getting your call tomorrow. Talking a little football. Got a bunch of other people out there listening too. Big Ant Jackson's listening. And again, just talking arena. You were talking a little bit about the travel only teams. It's almost like when you use travel only teams or you use players who aren't on teams rosters or things of this nature. Yes, again, we talk about you are saving that arena game date, no doubt about it. But you're putting on a subpar product, and that's really what people don't want in this industry. The one thing that you want to do, and we've talked about it numerous times, you want to start and finish seasons. You want to host all your home game, and you want to put the best quality product that you can out on the field. And if you're not doing that, you're doing a serious injustice to your fan base. And fans aren't stupid either. They know when you're doing that. I'll give you an example. We had a situation here in 2016 where the team folded, and we needed to find an opponent. The league wasn't doing it particularly, wasn't really providing any particular help for us or going out of their way. So we had to go with a local pro team that was one of the better teams in the region, not just in the area. We have a lot of them here. But what we did, instead of lying to our fan base and this and that, we just told them that our exhibition game, and this was truth, our exhibition game in February had been changed to a league game, because that particular team we played had joined the league. So that was a league game. We never had an exhibition game. So we just went out and told our fans, hey, we're going to have that exhibition game on this date. And that's what we had. We had a great game, great fan base, great crowd, and a competitive team in there. Now, what we did not play our full roster, so we didn't have a 100 to nothing blowout. We actually had a quality football game for the most part. No, were they going to beat us? No, they weren't. But they were competitive. They actually drove the ball right down the field in the first series of the game and got a touchdown, and made things real interesting and entertaining. But I always felt better being up front with our fan base than trying to make them think that, say, we were going to play that particular league opponent when everybody knew that that wasn't the opponent that was on the field.
Yeah, and honesty is very important in all aspects of life. It especially applies to this product because fans will find other alternatives if they aren't happy, especially in hotbeds. Your Southeast United States is a hotbed. So if you're not liking the product the team's putting on, you can just change the YouTube channel and find the other team and say, okay, they're my team now. So make sure you put on the best product you can, and be honest with your team and your fans.
Yeah, that's definitely critical. Again, we're talking about the American Arena League, and I spoke to you off air about the Elite Indoor Football League, and one thing that was intriguing to me with that league at this point in time, they have a team that's going to be in the state of Missouri, which I have had some preliminary discussions with. And the thing that really jumped out at me is if you're ever going to have a team in Missouri, you have to have some key players in regards to travel, like we've talked about. And I always felt like if you have a team in Missouri, you have to have some combination of travel partners in either Chicago, Bloomington, Illinois, Evansville, Indiana, or Kansas City. So I noticed that the Elite Indoor Football League just took on a team from they took on the Southland Power from out of the Chicago area, and they've joined the Elite Football League, and they've also have a team in Kentucky and a team in Nashville. So there's some potential Midwest developments, and in a league very similar to the American Arena League, and we'll just see what happens. We'd like to see this Midwest market strengthened a little bit. It might not be able to be strengthened through playing in one of the top indoor leagues, but it seems like a couple of these other leagues want to move to the Midwest and take advantage of it. So could be exciting times as the Midwest gets a little bit more indoor football, hopefully for 2020.
Yeah, definitely. I love to see the Edge join the EIFL. The Edge, of course, that's the CIF permission because of that whole situation they got themselves in. But I don't see why the CIF would object to that one personally. I love to see the Edge back in it because they have a great history, and I don't want to see them fold. You never want to see a team fold, no matter the history.
Yeah, no, you don't. And again, it gets down to kind of from what I was really thinking. It's either this or nothing, so to speak. So if you can get good travel partners, like we always talk about, if you can get good travel partners, you can have a league. So we'll really see what happens. I'm interested in following this elite indoor football league closely over the next couple weeks and see exactly what developments they do have, and if they do legitimately want to have a bona fide Midwest division, and a bona fide Midwest division would be probably 5 to 6 teams, four at a minimum, but 5 to 6 teams, so you could have a decent schedule and not play everybody 3 times.
Yeah, and playing the same teams 3 times, a rubber match is great, but it also, if it's the same outcome every time, it's not even a rubber match. It's just another, slugfest.
Right. Hopefully, you have some parity in the league and the games are good. So, again, we and I definitely support all arena and indoor football. I figure in regards to the show, sometimes we just don't have enough time to elaborate on some of the other leagues. So it's why we kind of have a structure to our show where we talk about the Arena League, IFL, National Arena League, and the Champions Indoor. But we like to show love to the American Arena League and the Elite Indoor Football League as well. And, we want those people to listen and support our show as well. So we try to expand our coverage a little late in the show and talk about some of the other leagues out there. Also, RJ, don't forget, before we end tonight, we'll both talk about our player of the week from last week, and that can be in any league of your choice. So I'm still trying to make some decisions myself. I'm sure you are, but we're coming down the home stretch in the show, and we want to make sure everybody sticks around so they hear those picks.
Definitely. I got someone in mind already.
I'm still sifting through. I struggle with this type of thing, but we're gonna have a great selection here in just a little bit. Again, you're listening to the Indoor Football Experience. I'm the coach. That's RJ. You want to listen live? You can tune in at afnn.net. Click and play the player. Click the play button at the bottom of the screen, and you can listen in and join the show. We're on via Skype. We want to thank our guests that we had a little earlier on in the show, a couple of great guests. And we've had great guests throughout the existence of the show. We appreciate these guys making time. A lot of times Monday is a busy time, but it's great to be able to get the scores out there right after they happen in the weekend, and then still talk to players while they're still in the process of processing the weekend that just took place, whether it's a win or a loss. It's kind of interesting.
Definitely. Definitely.
It makes it fun to you can hear where the players are coming from a lot. And we talk about fitting that profile that I always talk about. Are you a legitimate arena indoor football prospect? Do you fit the profile? The guys we have on not only fit the profile. The thing that's been so outstanding is, man, they're professionals. And they're guys who you can get in their corner and you can root for, and they're also guys with these other offshoot 11-man leagues coming up. They're also the kind of guys that can stick and stay in those leagues because they are professionals and they know how to carry themselves the right way.
Definitely. I've said it before. I'm going to say it again. Be careful what you say, because even if you have good intentions, someone can take it the wrong way, or it could just be a wrong thing to say. Coaches, talent agents, everybody will look through your social media to make sure you're a good character fit. People have lost scholarships over stupid things they say on the internet. So be careful. I'm not saying the internet is a horrible place. I think it's a great place. Just be cautious.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And again, I always defer to what Herm Edwards says. Hey, man, think before you press send. Give it a couple extra seconds, and make sure you're not putting out something out there that you don't want to. So, again, you got to be a professional. It separates the men from the boys, so to speak, especially when these teams are looking at players at this level for another chance. They want to make sure that you're representing the organization that you're currently playing for on the indoor level. They want to make sure that you're representing them properly before they take a chance on you. And I will say this, I know this as a coach, one thing that you don't ever do is you don't ever lie on a player. You tell people at the next level exactly what's going on so they know, so it doesn't come back to bite you. So you don't beg players to come in and act professionally. They have to have that built in their DNA. They have to have that as part of their makeup. So if they are talented and somebody does ask about them at the next level, that you can give that coaching staff or front office or personnel person, you can give them an honest assessment of the player and hopefully be able to provide a additional chance for that player to take another step forward. And a lot of times that happens. Players don't understand. Coaches aren't going to put their necks out on the line for guys who are acting like knuckleheads.
Definitely. Again, there's a time and place for everything. Just make sure when you're, saying stuff that everyone's going to see, make sure you want everyone to be able to hear it.
Yeah, so I think guys are doing a good job. One thing I've noticed covering these leagues closely again this season is it seems like we've talked about a lot of times. It seems like that the teams are doing a better job of bringing a good product out of training camp, and also teams are learning that guys. You need to give the team a little bit of time to gel when you start churning the roster and moving guys in and out um, because of performance or wins or losses. A lot of times it's wins or losses. The team hasn't really gelled or come together yet. And there used to be a lot of transition after losses. I see teams sticking with their players a lot more, and I think that's great. It saves you money, and you give a guy a legitimate chance. Nothing was worse than guy comes in, he's doing great. Team loses a couple games. They cut 8 guys and bring 10 more in. You know what I mean? That doesn't give a player an optimum chance to really showcase his skills when you don't make at least somewhat of a commitment to him. And if he wasn't that good, why bring him in, especially at this level?
Definitely, Some people look down upon this level, and I think reevaluate that because this is professional football. It's a different version of football that you may not be accustomed to, but don't get twisted. This is professional ball.
Want to shout out to Linda Lane and Sean Patton who are listening. They work with a lot of indoor football players, a lot of arena football players, a lot of guys over in Europe right now. The lineman guru Sean Patton is going to be on with us. I believe it's June 17th. So appreciate him listening in, and he's going to be talking a little bit of O-line play with us and the transition from the 11-man game to the indoor game for an O-lineman. So looking forward to that and looking forward to talking to him. It ought to be interesting. People think it's an easy transition, and sometimes it can be a lot more difficult than what people think, especially when speed's involved.
Definitely, you can't teach speed. That's one thing you cannot teach. You have it or you don't.
Yeah, so looking forward to that. And also want to thank Zach Hibden. He's listening to DC Stoneham is part of his scouting group, and definitely want to thank him for taking the time and providing DC to the show today. Again, Monday's a busy day for these players, so Zach got in there and helped make it happen with DC, so we appreciate that. And shout out to Athlete Scouting as well. We hope to have a few more of their guests on in the future. And luckily, those are guys I know a little bit, so they're willing to adjust their schedule and come on and talk to us. We've been doing pretty good with the guests, and we hope to keep that rolling, man.
Definitely.
So, taking a look around the leagues real quick before we do make those Player of the Week picks. What are you looking forward to coming into this weekend? Any league of your choice, RJ?
I'm gonna give it to the American Arena League just because playoffs are starting, and playoff football is playoff football about in a league. So let's have some fun. I hope to find you guys, listeners, in the YouTube chat rooms. I'm gonna be there. So let's have some fun. Let's talk about the game. Let's keep it respectful, and let's just enjoy a great product.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So I have been following this IFL situation. It's just been really interesting to me how it's almost a two-tier league, so to speak. So we know who our top three teams are moving forward in the IFL. A game I'm looking forward to, even though it's not going to have a whole lot of implications on the playoffs, but I'm looking forward in the IFL. I'm looking forward to the Friday night contest, the Bismarck Bucks, as they travel to the Quad City Steamrollers. I think that ought to be a good competitive game as both teams are trying to still find themselves. And the Bucks, they were playing pretty good. And again, the IFL schedule can be a gauntlet for these new teams. And Quad City is they've showed their moments as well. So that's my indoor football game of the week next week.
And I look forward to all the games.
Definitely, you sent me a picture, which was funny. We were talking about that one week where we had like 8 screens on our computer. I think I had like 2 desktops going and a Chromebook, and I had like 8 screens open trying to keep up with all these games. Sounds silly, but definitely a lot of fun.
You feel like a kid.
Watching all the games.
You feel like a kid.
Yeah, definitely, and I mean, hey, what better to do, man, when you get an opportunity to watch football in May and June.
There's not a lot better that you can do.
So we will be dialed in as almost all the leagues have a good amount of games down the stretch. As far as being able to watch, and YouTube's been our best friend. This year. I know a lot of people have their complaints about Pluto and this and that. I have not watched enough CIF action to really have any complaints. Anytime I've dialed into Pluto, I've had no problems whatsoever. But YouTube, man, you just click in, and if you've got subscription or whatever, man, you're literally good to go.
Oh yeah, it's really nice. It's really nice.
So hopefully that's been something that's really evolved and become part of the indoor scene over the last 2 or 3 years. I remember when I was in the IFL as an official for '09 through 2011. Man, you had a hard time just getting your film. From the games, we had film exchange obviously for officials, but if I wouldn't have been a part of that, I would have never hardly seen any games. I wouldn't have known anything about any opponents in advance or anything like that. So YouTube's been a godsend, and to be quite frank with you, we on this show, the Indoor Football Experience, I'm sure you would agree, we wouldn't be able to bring you the content and the details that we are without the YouTube.
Definitely, and it's YouTube is a great tool to use for these leagues that don't have the TV deals. It's really helpful.
Yeah, most definitely. I think we were talking about the American Arena League and the Elite Indoor Football League. It'd be great to see those leagues really jump on board with YouTube moving forward and be able to get that product out there to their fans. And one thing YouTube does is it puts pressure on you and your organization to deliver a quality product, because the last thing you want is a shady product on YouTube and people watching it, which means if it's shady, people won't be watching it because they have a lot of options in regards to indoor football and arena football to watch now between YouTube and Pluto. Man, I don't care as long as the feed's good.
Me either. A good feed helps me enjoy the game.
No doubt. That's the kid. I'm the coach, and we're getting ready to wind it down. So I have settled in on my player of the week. You want to go first, or you want me to go, RJ?
I want to hear what you have to say, Coach. I'm very intrigued that you went through your betting process. So.
I just had somebody message in IFL, CIF, and NAL championship game predictions. Let's hear them. So, Zach Hibden from Athlete Scouting, you know what? We got a little time. Why don't we just take a quick run at it, RJ, and then we'll give our player of the week. What do you think?
All right. Sounds good to me.
All right. So, let's start with the IFL. Who do you see in the championship game?
Iowa and Sioux Falls.
I'm going to go with on the championship game. I'm going to go with the Arizona Rattlers and the Iowa Barnstormers in the IFL.
I can see that.
And let's move to the National Arena League. What do you predict there?
Pirates are going to take on let's go with the Carolina Cobras, and the Pirates are going to upset them.
Okay, I definitely have Carolina in there, and let me see. I don't have standings in front of me, so hang on. Let's see. I'm going to go with Carolina, and I think I'm going to go with the Jacksonville Sharks in the National Arena League Championship game. I'm going to go with the Carolina Cobras and the Jacksonville Sharks.
All right, I like those picks.
And now moving forward, we have the last of the bunch. And again, Zach Tibden from Athlete Scouting message in, and he wanted to hear the coach and the kids IFL, CIF, and NAL championship game predictions. So we're bringing it to him because that's what we do. So I would like to think that in the CIF, I'm gonna go with the Duke City Gladiators hosting the Salina Liberty.
Oh, see, I got Duke City hosting the Sioux City Bandits.
Okay. So nobody's going with the current Northern Division leader, the Omaha Beef. So that's interesting. So we will see what happens. So there's your picks. I wrote mine down since we were put on the spot, but no problem being put on the spot, RJ. Like I said, that's what we do.
It is what we do.
All right. So just before Zach messaged in, we appreciate Zach messaging in to the indoor football experience. And I know he's listening in live like he does every week on afnn.net. So thanks, Zach. Appreciate that. We're going to move on. And the kid wanted to hear my player of the week. So the coach's indoor football experience player of the week will be the Green Bay Blizzards, Lenoris Footman, quarterback for the Green Bay Blizzard. He finished 13 for 22, not that great a percentage, but 146 yards, 41 long, and 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. The thing that sticks out there for me is taking care of the football, as the Green Bay Blizzard defeated the Bismarck Bucks 40-10. So my indoor football experience player of the week is going to be quarterback from the Green Bay Blizzard, Lenoris Footman.
I like the pick. I got a lot of respect for what he does, and I'm definitely gonna have to look more into him personally. So I gotta look at that. Now,
Yeah.
for me, I go the Massachusetts Pirates and Marty Gilliard. Marty is a dominant player who really has helped Dexter McCluskey get acclimated to the indoor team, because Gilliard frees things up. He commands respect, and if you don't give it to him, he's gonna burn you deep. And he's willing to go over the boards, like by getting 2 feet for a catch. He's got great heart. According to the NL website, the most recent update says he's got 463 yards, 15 touchdowns, averages 66 yards a game. Those are some pretty nice stats.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And one thing that I forgot to throw in too is Footman, who was my player of the week, also had 5 rushing attempts for 22 yards for a long of 21. So he got all those in one, but also put a touchdown on the board on the ground. So good day from him, and good day from your pick. Couple quality picks there. And the thing that I like is we each had a pick from a different league. It shows you how good the indoor football is right now. And the future's bright, man.
Definitely. And if you love the content here on afnn.net, tune in tomorrow Wednesday for In the End Zone with Michael Washington Weeks and Kevin Drake, where they go over the NFL and what's going on there. So make sure you turn in.
Yes, definitely. Should be a good talk from Michael and Kevin. So I'll definitely tune in and make sure that I'm up to speed on all my NFL talk as well. Before we get out of here, RJ, let our fans know where they can keep up with you through the week on social media.
Thanks. So you can follow me on my Facebook page, RJ Ciancio. Ciancio spelled C-I-A-N as in Nancy, C-I-O. You can follow me on Twitter at CiancioRJ, or my Instagram, RJ_Ciancio. And, message me if you want to talk. I'm always open to conversation. And, Coach, where can we find you?
And you can find the coach. You can find me on Facebook, and you can find me at Lin Hart Jr. It's L-I-N, last name Hart, H-A-R-T Jr. You can find me on Facebook there. You can also find me on Twitter. I enjoy my time on Twitter, following things on Twitter, my conversation on Twitter with folks. You can find me on there at the Coach 28, all lowercase, at the Coach 28. You can also find me on Instagram. I usually make all my posts the same on all my social media. So if you're an IG fan, you can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Instagram at the_Coach 28. So for the coach, that's the kid. We want to thank our special guest today, DC Stoneham from the Duke City Gladiators, coming on the show with us, and also jumping in out of the offensive meeting there as well. Hometown kid, St. Louisan, from Kirkwood High School, Dello Davis. I've always had a great relationship with him. Appreciate him taking the time to join the show as well. So for the kid, I'm the coach, and our awesome producer, Harry. We'll be back on the Indoor Football Experience next week. Take care and have a great week. Peace.
The Alternative Football News Network. History in the making.